like buzzards circling our people. We're still warriors.
I ought to kill these white men who killed my family. I need you here.
I am right here.
Thank you. My goodness. Whoa.
I think they liked it.
I hope.
Marty, let me ask you, this is a long time coming. This is, I say sort of, because it's a crime story, it's all different kinds of things, but it is a Western. And you haven't really done one before until this moment. So what was your inspiration of tackling Killers of the Flower Moon?
Well, first of all, it was a story. And the timing of the story, in other words, the time, the period of the story, and that it's something that was a little more accessible to me than images that I can't go near. I can't go near the images of a John Ford or Howard Hawks or Raoul Walsh or Andre the Toth or Bud Bedecker or Delma Daves or any of these guys who did some of the greatest Westerns. The minute I see a man on a horse or woman or this, forget it. I mean, it's nowhere, it doesn't come from me. It's not authentic enough. For me, the American Western genre finished in around 68, I think it was, with The Wild Bunch. That put the end to the genre itself in terms of America, in terms of our history, in terms of the new generations and where we're going. So for me, when I saw that it had elements that I could identify, I could feel were more modern, I felt less intimidated. We felt we had the ability to go in and try to create that world at that time. Because it's really the story. The story for me was extraordinary. I had heard about it a little bit, but reading the book, David Grant's book, and then Eric's script, this is something that I thought we'd take a chance and see if we could come up with something unique and original. Right around the time of COVID hitting is when ultimately Leo came to me and talked about changing the direction of it in terms of which character he would play. We approached it from the point of view of the book, in which the Bureau of Investigation comes in from Washington and they're looking around for who did it. And we look at each other and we know who did it. You would know who did it immediately. And so it became a story. And I think David Grant has said this. It became a story of it's not who did it, but who didn't do it. Yeah. Now, who didn't do it, then you have to be very original, I should say, as to how to immerse all the characters in the complicity, and then how it relates to us as people. The first thing that came to mind, of course, was dealing with the Osage and Native Americans in the right way. That was the first thing that, even before I read the book, I said, no, first of all, we have to know that they're with us on this, and that they would be able to trust us, and to try to make something that is respectful and, I don't know, as authentic as possible. When I did visit with the Osage, I was told that to please remember that a lot of these people were best friends. I was told clearly that, from Margie, I think, Burkhart, that Molly and Ernest were really in love. And I said, well, that's a story. And we realized that still we're trying to balance Molly and Ernest and everybody and all these different elements. All these things seem to be getting in the way of the heart of the picture. And you told me, where's the heart of the picture? And I said, it's with Molly and Ernest. And you said, I should play Ernest. In which case we said, okay. And we said, okay, that means we take the script now. Instead of coming from the outside in, we go from the inside out.
Leo, you started out with one character in mind, and then you decided, no, I'm going to do this one.
Tom White was obviously the gallant FBI agent, white savior that comes into town type of character. We read the screenplay, and besides all the factors of that being the lead, the emotional core was when this one tiny sequence between Molly and Ernest, and we read that, and that was the moment that I think both of us felt when we did the read-through, that I had this swell of emotion. I said, how could this relationship exist? And then it really did. These people were truly in love, and he was simultaneously doing these incredibly horrific things to the woman he loved. And that complexity, that duality, that bizarre, twisted relationship sort of molded into something more as we started to have conversations. And we started to watch a lot of Montgomery Clift films. We started to watch A Place in the Sun.
And The Heiress.
The Heiress, A Place in the Sun. And then we watched Red River. how you can have, the American sort of dream gone wrong, this quest for greed, this quest for, the American dream. And we said, wow, these films from the 40s, 50s, they work. These old school sort of narratives, and that sort of all sort of clashed together with us. We started to converse more and more. And then the challenge was, as I started to research Ernest, and you realize what an incredibly unredeemable, deceitful, numbskull of a man he actually was.
That's why he was not afraid to do that, though. Yeah. As an actor, to play this person who was really, really weak.
The truth is, the more we spent time in Osage country, the more like there's honestly the ghosts of these people still existing. We were there 100 years, to the year after the first murder, and the Flower Moon came out. It was like a full century, and the stories are still there. The pain was still very much there, and the remnants of all of this was still very much with that entire community. And again, listening to some of the relatives, we tried to do as best a representation of what really happened in that relationship as we could.
Amazing. And in the relationship here, Lily Gladstone, you saw what they thought of your performance. It is amazing. And it's you grew up in the Blackfeet Reservation. You are obviously a Native American coming at this from a different point of view. What is the meaning of playing this role for you?
It means a lot on a lot of different levels. There's, I keep using this week this word restorative. American Indians, we had a very prominent period in cinema in the 20s when we were making our own work. People were interested in what we had to say about ourselves. Great War happens, everybody needs a hero, everybody needs the cowboy Indian dynamic, and everybody wants to be the cowboy. So we become the bloodthirsty savages, we become the fate worse than death, all of that. So this golden age of cinema where this story actually worked, we existed in a really pitiful way. So having Molly at the heart of this complicated story that could have lived in the golden age of cinema, bringing that love story out, bringing that character out, it was a restorative moment for film history. But so how do I hold this piece and be responsible to Osage, be responsible to my great-grandmother Lily, who would have been Molly's contemporary, was born 10 years after Molly. So there's that responsibility within my own family. And then create a character that Osage people would recognize, that they would feel was theirs. Because that's ultimately, in the end, who I'm handing this performance back to, is the Osage Nation. It was an enormous undertaking historically, history, like American history, film history, American Indian history and representation there.
And what about working with Leo and Marty and Robert De Niro? And you walk on the set, they have all these relationships of all these movies, and now you are new kid on the block.
New guy, right? Being in this circle, it's so loving. It's so, I talk about how it's not just that a space was created for me and like I was made to feel comfortable enough to contribute. It was expected that I do. It's, it was expected that I show up and I bring Molly.
Now, this gentleman right here at the end, Rodrigo Prieto, this isn't even enough for him to have one movie this year. He also shot Barbie. So talk about the challenges here.
Part of the role of the cinematographer is to certainly support the performances, but also find ways so that the camera and the lighting really represent what they're feeling. And I think a lot of the way that Marty designs the shots are certainly aimed in that direction. What's the energy of the scene? What should it feel like? And a lot of the discussions were about that. For example, the moment when the house explodes, and then the moment when Ernest comes back to the house, it was thought differently. The idea was to have a point of view coming into the house, and the family was going to be there. And Marty said, Where would you be? Where would you be with the family? And I remember Lily said, they'd be there in the living room, or that's the way we planned it, that's the way I lit it, it was ready for that. And then he says, well, in a basement. Is there a basement in this house? And then I'm panicking, you know, because, okay, now we still have to finish on schedule, you know, and all this. So locations, basement, I find, yeah, there is a basement. Oh, okay, so that became the shot. And what that gave the scene is amazing. It's one of my favorite moments. For me, it's very inspiring, you know, to talk about that relationship of, you know, the camera with the actors. And it was just amazing working with you guys, really. Thank you.
The man that's not here, Robert De Niro, is so evil in this and so so good. And to watch your scenes with him, this is a reunion of sorts on screen with Robert De Niro for you.
It felt like family for me in a lot of ways. I mean, they both, in different respects, have been my father figures. You know, I've looked up to them, and I've obviously gotten to work with Marty so many times. But it was fascinating. I think that, you know, they have such a shorthand together. It's amazing. It's incredible to watch the two of them speak, because it's almost like this kinetic, telepathic communication where words aren't even expressed. They look at each other. They go, he's like, that. You know. And they know. And then the whole scene changes, and it's like they're speaking through their minds. It's incredible.
You know, and every weekend we'd talk and we'd add dialogue and stuff. And every now and then I'd look over at Bob and we'd look at each other and say, we don't need any dialogue. No, we don't. And we both agree. But, you know, we need to keep working at it until we found the right words. It has to be done, you know. And the way you did it, I said, that's it. That's it. And we go from there.
Amazing achievement. Thank you all for coming out here tonight.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.